text or email to you. If you have any issues with that, call us, let us know ahead of time so we don't get bogged down on Saturday. The welcome window will be on the west side of the stadium. Post-game on Saturday, we'll do players and Coach Ferentz all in the one room. We'll do a few players before Coach at the podium. Then we'll have Coach's presser when he's done with radio. And then we'll have a few more players at the podium, and we'll not use the second, the second interview room. So that's how we'll do post-game. And to note, anybody who does not want to or feel the need to go downstairs into the post-game room, players and coach will be available on the TV monitors throughout the press box. You wouldn't be able to ask questions, but for anybody who wants to not be in a crowded room, hopefully that option will be something you could use for that. There's a map today that's available for the traffic patterns post-game. We appreciate your help with any information that you can get out on that. It's going to be a mess around I-80 and 380, so appreciate your stuff on there. All the information about Iowa football should be available on the website, the Hawkeyesports.com /media, football media. So everything's available there. These press conferences are available on YouTube. We will have a transcription today of both Gary and Coach. Please speak up as you're asking your questions. And ticket remaining for Saturday. We're at about 2,500 or a little less than that. So good crowd expected. We appreciate your coverage and all you can do to get the word out about any of the changes in and around Kinnick Stadium on game day. And with that, we'll get to Athletic Director Gary Barda. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. It's good to see you in person and not through a TV screen. As I walked into the room, I saw most of you do not have masks on, so I'll talk a little bit more about COVID. I do carry a mask. I spoke to a class earlier today. They all had masks on, so I put my mask on. If I'm in a group that's uncomfortable, I'll wear my mask. If I'm in a group that either is all vaccinated or comfortable, we have distance here. But I'll talk a little bit more about that. Just can't say enough how excited I am to have game week back, and game week with fans. And I know as I've talked to fans, just so much excitement. Just feel the goosebumps of having the music and seeing the team come down the tunnel, and I really can't wait to feel that again. Last year, we got through it, but it certainly wasn't the same. In addition, this weekend, just a reminder, at least my excitement reminds having Hall of Fame weekend. We're inducting 10 new members into the Hall of Fame after not having a class last year. So congratulations to all of those inductees and their families. Friday, what used to be the Marriott has now changed hands. It's now the Hyatt down in Coralville. So we'll have a Friday afternoon luncheon honoring that group. We'll have a Saturday evening reception honoring that group. And then, as is tradition and probably the most excitement, is honoring them on the field. So looking forward to that. Generally, momentum from last year picking up. With the great year we had last year. Soccer's off to a 3-1 start. Field hockey, undefeated 2-0, and most importantly, beat the #1 team and the #11 team, went in ranked #3 in the country. So just a really great start for our other teams before we talk about football. I thought I'd talk a little bit about just a few more remarks, and then happy to answer questions. Talk a little bit about game day Saturday. Certainly, Steve mentioned a lot of changes, so we haven't done this for a whole year, and just several changes that all of this can be found on game day, Hawkeyesports.com, but I thought I'd address it a little bit. First of all, just playing a conference team right out of the chute, a very good conference team, so that's unique, that's different. Mobile ticketing, mobile app ticketing. We've been working on, as most of you have experienced, whether it's airlines or other sporting events, certainly somewhere that everyone's going to. The transition is challenging because we're all used to that piece of paper in our hand. We've been working with our season ticket holders and fans, converting them, asking everybody. The best way to manage this is to get it downloaded onto your phone before Saturday. There still is the opportunity on Saturday, but by doing it before Saturday, you certainly maybe work out some of the bugs. Our staff has been working on that nonstop. There will be, so first of all, there will be 94 points of entry, as opposed to 2019, there were 84 points of entry. Even though we've shifted some of those in terms of the gates, but there's more than there was in the past. And then there's also some help stations that will be there for someone who's having a problem, having a difficulty managing their mobile ticket app. So at the end of the day, everyone will get in. Everyone will get in that has a ticket. You know, certainly not if you don't have a ticket. But we certainly encourage people to start coming into the stadium earlier, game one, for a couple reasons. One, because of the changes. Also, not unlike service industry across the country, shortage of staff. If you think about everywhere you go and you see that experience, we have between 500 and 1,000 workers on any given Saturday. And we know for sure we're going to struggle to hit that 500 mark. So we will be understaffed. And so just everything we do, whether it's getting into the gate, whether it's finding a place to park, whether it's buying concessions, we know we're going to be facing, plus it's the first game, plus we haven't done this for a year. So just encouraging fans to get there earlier. It's cashless inside the stadium, so concession stands are all cashless. That's partly a COVID move, you know, not interacting or having that transaction. Obviously, credit cards are taken. We are selling beer and wine. We've done that in the clubs and suites, but this is the first time we're doing it in all of the areas. And you all have heard me say this when it started to become a thing 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I said, you know, the University of Iowa won't be the first. It's likely we won't be the last. Well, we're 8th, is my understanding, in the Big Ten. But it is new. It is different. So safe, legal, and responsible. Aramark is trained all around the country and the world in managing this. And certainly expectations for fans are making sure that you are of age. They're TIPS trained, the Aramark staff. And we will, again, as is common practice, we will stop selling alcohol after the third quarter. So that's, again, just standard best practices across the country. Tailgating starts at 8:30 for a 2:30 game. That's new, 6 hours before. Again, we looked around the conference. We looked at other tailgating procedures. We looked at the fact that we are trying to continue to make a good environment, a safe environment. And it does relate to the staffing that we have. Historically, if we open at 6 a.m., we're bringing staff in to man those lots somewhere in the middle of the night. And if we have a night game and they have to work all the way through to a night game, well, you just add up the hours. I know you all work a lot of hours, but just add up if you're there from 2 or 3 in the morning until you know, the game starts at 7 o'clock at night. So lots and lots of changes. Change is always difficult, but at the end of the day, we're committed to our fans having a great experience. Just checking to see if I missed anything. As Steve said, student section sold out pretty much right away in the summer, and then we made more student tickets available. We have about 2,500 tickets, as Steve said. We're still selling them every week. I think we were on a pace to sell out, and then my only thought is that as the variant became more and more discussed and prevalent, that probably slowed down our ticket sales, would be my guess, but still a great crowd. It will feel and look sold out when we get there on Saturday, depending on, I think the weather forecast is favorable, so looking forward to that. COVID, still critical, still top of mind on everything that we do every day as we're working through this. The uncertainty that we have this year is mostly surrounding the variant. But it's still so much better than it was a year ago because we do have a vaccine, and our medical staff does have much better understanding of how to treat somebody if they contract the disease. So, at the end of the day, my approach to this, and this is Gary's approach, I think it's generally supported by the university's approach, Mandated or not, get vaccinated, because medically, vaccination is how we're going to beat this thing. It's years ago how we beat polio, and we beat mumps, and we beat measles. And I'm not saying I'm medically qualified to say this is different or the same, but I have spoken to our medical professionals, and vaccination is the best way. Not because it's mandated, just because it's medically the best way to overcome this. After that, what else can you do? Wash your hands. Wear a mask in situations where it makes sense or people are uncomfortable. Just maybe put yourself at distance like we are today, a little bit more than we used to. And if you so choose, make decisions to not be out as much or in situations as often. It's not going to be zero. We're not going to have zero infections on our campus, in our state, or across the country. But we can mitigate it to some degree. So I could go on and on. I could talk about CFP expansion. I could talk about transfers, NIL. I could talk about all the things that have been happening since we used to get together more regularly, but I'm not going to. At this point, I'll just open it up for questions.
A question about, is it too late, or is the help wanted sign still out? If people want to work at Kinnick Saturday and the rest of the season, can they do that? How do they do it?
Absolutely. The answer is yes. Mike, I would steer everybody to HawkeyeSports.com game day, and I will have somebody on the staff make sure that we can provide that information directly. So as soon as I'm done here, I'll make sure that, Steve, we can share that. Thanks for asking.
Gary, it's been a week since the alliance was mentioned, and it seems a little bit nebulous. It did then, it does probably today, to what does that mean for football scheduling going forward, specifically to the Cyhawk, which has a contract through 2025?
Yeah, what is the alliance and what is the alliance not? That's probably grammatically incorrect, but you know what I mean. When Texas and Oklahoma announced that they were changing conferences, the Big Ten, rightly so, got together and said, first of all, where do we stand? The Big Ten's in a very good position. We have a group of schools that share philosophy, academically, research, competitively. It's in a contiguous 9 states, so we feel, and our TV contract is strong, so we feel very good about where we are. Now, that said, we talked about, do we look at expanding? And if so, what would that look like? What would the schools look like if we expanded? We've talked about that. We didn't identify somebody that we were ready to go forward with those criteria. So then we started talking to others. And the Pac-12 and the ACC had a lot of similar thoughts, similar approach to research and academics and athletics. So we came up with the alliance concept. One of the pieces of that is scheduling. And I think you made the point, or if you didn't, I'll just make it. We haven't dug in and gotten after scheduling, but we did do the following. This gets to your question about future scheduling. Principles. We will honor current contracts. You mentioned Iowa State. We have a contract with them through 2025. That's just factual. The principle that we've talked about is this would not preclude us from playing other conferences. So that's a principle that we've discussed. And Jamie and I have spoken about this and other things as the world of college sports has been shifting and changing. I've said before, and I'll say it again today, I think the Iowa State Cyhawk matchup is good for our state, good for college football, college athletics. That being said, I can't predict the future, so I can't go beyond where we are today other than what I just stated. So hopefully that answers your question.
Is the Big 12, are you kind of thinking maybe wait out to see what happens with them before
I think
decision? Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we have to wait and see what happens to the Big 12, but to all of college sports in terms of conference alignment. Does anybody else expand or retract? What decisions will the Big 12 make? What other decisions will other conferences make? So I think it is fair to say that we're going to wait and see. And there's no reason to make a decision on August, what is it today, the 31st.
This alliance thing happened fast. Did it go all the way down to you, athletic directors, administrators, and coaches?
Yes. Yes, at least in the Big Ten, I can tell you, and I'm comfortable to say that I'm sure it sounds like it occurred in the other conferences as well, that it had presidential discussion and it did have athletic director inclusion and involvement.
Schools like LSU, Syracuse, Tulane, Oregon State are all requiring either proof of vaccination or negative test 3 days prior to for fans entering the stadium. Have y'all had talks about implementing rules like that moving forward for football games, and what were the discussions had?
We've certainly had numerous discussions about mitigation, what is the best path forward, how do we do this the best we can. But in the state of Iowa, we're a state institution, and it would be against the law for us to have mandated vaccinations and mandated, showing a card and those types of things, in addition to just scratching your head and trying to actually implement all of that. So we are where we are. As I mentioned before, I would love everybody who walks into the door today, everybody who walks into the stadium to get vaccinated. By the way, I'm glad you brought it up just because this had slipped my mind. Hy-Vee is going to be offering at our game the opportunity for fans to get vaccinated. Right on the north side of the stadium. My understanding is Iowa State's Hy-Vee is going to offer that at Iowa State as well. I think I heard that they offered it at the state fair. And I would just encourage every fan that comes here. That means you'd have to come probably even a little bit earlier, but get vaccinated. So while on the one hand it's not mandated, it's the path forward.
I'm sure you've heard, I mean, if I've heard this, I'm sure you have too. There are season ticket holders that are wishing there were a mask mandate in Kinnick, because they want to go back to the games as much as anyone. Have you heard from those folks, and what is your response to them?
Yeah, I've heard from those that absolutely want a mask and those who absolutely don't want a mask. And so I think this is one of those topics that's just, it certainly is very challenging. I respect both opinions, but we're moving forward with the plan we think is going to best fit where we are at this time.
Where are season tickets at this juncture? That you said there's 2,500 for this game, but are they below or at or exceed what they were pre-2020?
I didn't bring the numbers, Scott, but the last I had heard, and it probably hasn't changed much, we were kind of right at where we were prior to 2019, and the vast majority decided to move forward this year as opposed to put it off. So I think we're in a good place with the opportunity. If somebody wants to buy some season tickets, we'll still sell them.
If I can ask one more about the Alliance. I mean, just from your perspective, I think you were part of some Big Ten ADs that were part of this. Do you like the appeal of scheduling an ACC Pac-12 combo in that 8+2 type of model for the Big Ten in the future?
In general terms, I think it's intriguing. Now, we currently play 9 Big Ten games, and the ACC plays 8, and the Pac-12, I think I'm right, the Pac-12 plays 9. That might have to be part of the discussion. We need to have 7 home games. So there's certain things at Iowa we're going to say have to happen. And then after that, having the opportunity to play some other games, I think it's intriguing, especially depending on where college football and college athletics goes in the future. But just not ready to say, as of today, here's what we should be doing.
Gary, you're on the College Football Playoff Committee. The expansion talk going to 12. What were your thoughts on that, and where does that stand right now?
So first of all, I think everybody knows the subcommittee that was put together. They brought forward a proposal. That proposal hasn't been voted upon yet. That'll happen, my understanding is, yet in September. That's number one, just a quick update. The committee that I serve on is the selection committee. So we focus on, I've already watched all the games from last week like you all did. I'll be first and foremost focused on Iowa, Indiana, and then the rest of the weekend I'll watch all the other games. And at the end of the day, my point being, my role is pretty limited. It's, get a group of 13 people to pick the best teams as the year unfolds. After that, I'm excited to see where, if it does expand as the athletic director at Iowa, what does that mean for the Big Ten and what does it mean for Iowa? But we'll see where it goes.
All right. Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
All right, thanks everybody. It's great to see you.
We'll go ahead and bring up Coach Ferentz.
Okay, good afternoon. Good to see everybody in person, and obviously good to get going here. So, it's game week finally, and it's always exciting anytime you get the beginning of a new season. It's a big deal for sure, and I think we're coming off a pretty productive camp. It was good to get back to work with the players, be on the field, and being a good routine. And I think we've seen a lot of group growth, both individually and collectively. But really now the big question is how's it going to translate to playing a football game. So it's an exciting time for all of us, I think. With that excitement comes a lot of, anxiousness and just some nerves as well. And probably feel like most coaches in America, most players in America, we need to play a football game right now and just find out where we're at and learn a little bit more about ourselves. And it's also going to be good to be back in Kinnick, and not only good but unusual to have fans in there again too. So that's going to be special. I think just a couple of things. Really pleased with the veteran players that we've had. We got some guys coming back that have played really good football for us, and we knew that coming in. I think they've improved as football players, and they've also given our team a good foundation of leadership. So that part's been good. And then, we got a lot of guys that haven't played in front of fans, live fans, so it's going to be a new experience for them, and just really eager and kind of anxious to see how they respond on Saturday, see how they play, and especially considering who we're playing against. So, but the bottom line is, it's all about us being able to concentrate on what it is we have to do Saturday and put circumstances aside and try to get ready for a good opponent. So, to that point, captains this week, we've got Tyler Linderbaum, we've got Matt Hankins, Jack Kerner, and then Spencer Petras. Those are the four captains that will go out for the toss. Collarshot, as all of you know, has been injured, and he'll be injured here for a couple more weeks, I believe. So he will not be playing. Everybody else has a chance to make it. And then turn our attention to Indiana. We're looking at a veteran team, a really a good football team, and they're good in all three phases. So they've got a lot of good veteran players back. They've also added a significant amount of grad transfers that we don't know a lot about, but and how they'll factor into the equation. But what we do know is that these guys are a really well-coached football team in all areas. They've played extremely well. Had two very successful seasons the last 2 years. And it just goes back, Coach Allen, when he took over, had a clear vision, and he and his staff have done a really great job, not only having a vision, but they built a really good football program, and we're going to see a really good team on Saturday, so we know that's what's waiting for us. Good in all three phases. Quarterback is an outstanding football player and clearly a leader for them. Bunch of experience and size up front. Good receiver core. Number 3 is a real good football player, and defensively extremely aggressive, very aggressive, very attacking. Done a great job with the turnover, takeaway margin, and also penalties, and good on special teams as well. So all in all, just sizes up for a great challenge for us in our first game. I think we're all eager to start. We've got to finish the week here, do a good job there. And last thing before open for questions, just say that we're just thrilled to have Drew Hennigan will be the kid captain this week, and young man from West Des Moines who's certainly proven to be a fighter. So it'd be good to have him with us on Saturday as well. I'm going to throw it out for questions.
Coach, with Indiana and the challenges that they present in their quick pass game, screens, timing throws, what type of challenges that present to your defense, and knowing that you have to worry about that in addition to the run game?
Yeah, we don't know as much about the running backs and who's going to be in there. They lost a really good player there. But, yeah, they do a good job in the throw game, too. Really good. And they've got good receivers. They said number 3 is as good as we're going to play against. And but the guy that really makes them go as a quarterback, and having him back, we expect that to be a challenge for us. And a big part of that is the passing game. And he's a good thrower. He's very poised. And also can pull it down and run if he has to. But he's a really good passer, and they hit you a lot of different ways.
Kirk, how has Spencer grown where he is now from this point last year where he didn't really have a whole lot of reps?
Yeah, I think it's a night and day comparison, really. Last year he went into the season pretty much cold, no spring ball, no camp. And, he's got 8 games under his belt, but he's also had a lot of time to practice beyond those 8 games and, watch himself perform and learn more about himself. And he really is doing a good job in all regards, starting with the leadership part of it. He's totally committed and has been, and I think that experience is just allowing him to play a little faster now and a little bit more decisively, and for the most part he's been pretty accurate and has done some good things. So it's interesting during camp, you got ups and downs, and we're playing against each other every day, so it's a little bit of a different challenge, a unique challenge. But he made a couple throws a week ago, I guess it'd be tomorrow, that really, we had a couple of plays in that practice that stood out. It was like, wow, these look like good football plays here. So, I think we've been gaining ground, and everybody's, doing a good job around him, and anxious to see him play this Saturday.
Coach, what is the status of the defensive line? At Kids Day, Noah Shannon wasn't playing, and they kind of struggled a little bit. I'm just wondering how their growth has been the past couple of days, and who's been kind of taking those spots in the interior.
Yeah, one of the first of all, I don't know the answer to the question. And it's like a lot of things right now. I can say this: on both lines, we'll probably play more than 5 guys or 4 guys. We'll be rotating players in and out because we're still learning. We're still learning about a lot of our guys right now. Part of that is just the guys in the equation. The other part is injuries, and that's part of every camp. I have to remind myself. It's frustrating. Especially the end of last week. We had a lot of guys in and out, and the end of the week before, too, were kind of in that same situation. So it makes it tough to really gauge where guys are at, how well they're doing. But we're hopeful, we'll have everybody at full speed outside of Kyler on Saturday. And those guys, some guys, we have a pretty good feel how they're going to play, but a lot of guys we don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think Noah will be just fine when he's in there, and feel pretty much that way about, Joe Evans and John Wagner, along with, Van Valkenburg. So, but we got a lot of young guys in the mix, and it's going to be interesting to see how they play and perform.
Several of your players a couple hours ago, back when we were talking to them, they said they're.
It was today, though, right?
Yeah. They're hot to play a good team right off the bat. They say they are. How do you feel about it?
First of all, your schedule is your schedule. You play who's in front of you. So, but the fact is that we're playing a really good football team right now. It's, good in all 3 areas. So I think it's, there's no downside to it in my mind. And we all knew this, back in January that we were playing a good football team to open up the season. So. I don't, you hope guys work with urgency regardless of who you're playing or what you're doing, but I think the reality is we all realize there's not a lot of wiggle room this week, and we've known that, starting spring practice back at the end of March. So we'll find out. We'll find out.
Kirk, I know last year was last year, and you put everything in the rearview mirror, but there are certain tangibles that can carry over positively and negatively, confidence being among them. Your players seem to have a kind of a confident aura about them, and a lot of it stems from the way that they handled adversity and played well through the course of the season. They propelled that in the offseason. What's kind of your vantage point of the way they've performed since last season, what they've dealt with? And do you think it will have a positive impact on them just in the way they carry themselves?
Yeah, it's interesting because you just, you never know how a season's going to, and you can argue it both ways. You finish up with some momentum and maybe that carries over, and then conversely, if you finish poorly, you want to rebound from that. So, I think probably most of all, it's a new year right now, and like I said earlier, we got a lot of guys that know what it takes to win. They fully appreciate and understand just how tough it is to win each and every week. And then you always worry about the guys that haven't played, not quite grasping that, and just how important every little detail is. And this goes well beyond this week. It goes back a ways, but the better guys, pick up just the knowledge that it is important. Everybody does well each and every day if we're going to have a chance to have a good football team. Winning teams understand that, and they pick that up as you go. So I'm hoping the older guys have, I know they've worked to be good role models. Hopefully, other guys are paying attention to it, and whenever it hits the fan on Saturday, it'll hit the fan at some point in the game. Hopefully, those guys help pull the younger guys up, because we're having some guys that aren't quite sure what's going on at times, or how we react in this situation. So you just hope those older guys help pull them along a little bit, and help support them. But it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this team comes together. But they've done a lot of good things. The team's done a lot of good things. They've worked hard. Just haven't had the consistency you like, but I don't know if you ever do in the preseason.
Can you kind of expand on, you talked about rotating the offensive line, what positions you might rotate, who might be in there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not trying to be smart either. I really am not sure what it's going to look like. I'm pretty sure Linderbaum would be playing center. That's pretty good about that. And then, we'll just see. I mean, but, we'll play probably 6, 7, maybe 8 guys, I don't know, during the course of the game. And we need to learn more about them and how they're going to perform out there. And this is quite a test because this team is they're very multiple with what they do, and they're very aggressive with what they do. They bring a lot of pressure, add to the mix. So it puts a little bit of pressure on those guys up front, and it's a tough preparation. It already has been. It's going to be tough around Saturday to see how they execute against a very aggressive defensive team.
How do you feel about your running game right now?
Okay. It depends how we block, and I feel good about our backs. I think we have a good group of backs. Anyway, some depth there, and I think we knew that, and then probably the thing we're most pleased of, we knew a lot about Ivory and obviously Tyler, but LaShawn Williams and Gavin Williams have both done a good job, so I think we've got 4 good backs back there, but again, it's being able to put things together against a team like this, and when you play a team like this as well, because of their style, we'll probably hit some good plays and we'll probably have some ugly plays too, and our guys need to understand that and just keep play through those ups and downs. But if we're going to be good, we have to run the ball successfully and effectively. We got to do that, and we got to do both. But part of that depends on how they want to play too, and if they want to take the run away, they can do it, and then we're going to have to throw it.
At this point in time, what percentage of your team is vaccinated, do you know? Yeah,
it's probably in the, upper 90s right now, I guess, as we've had a pretty big, people have jumped on that board, on that train, probably since the start of this month. We're still in August, right? So it's been a big month moving the needle that way, yeah.
Coach, what do you think the main key to victory is for your team this weekend? Is it some of the intangible things that you've touched on, or maybe more of the specific strategic execution pieces?
One of the first things that comes to mind is just playing clean, and that's true. I think, you watch any early season football, you consider the turnover takeaway margin that this Indiana team was so good at last year. So they forced a lot of turnovers, to their credit, and that part of that's that style, the way they play defense. They come at you aggressively. So we've got to really protect the football. It's true in every game, but it's going to be really important in this game. And then, their first games are all about unknowns. We at least they have an established staff. I can't imagine they're going to change dramatically because they've been so successful. So we have an idea, I think, at least of what they'll do, but you still never quite know what they're going to do. And then they've got some unknowns just in terms of personnel. Ours, as they look at us, it's probably more young guys that they don't know a lot about, and then we're looking at them. They have some of those guys, but they also have a lot of grad transfers that we haven't seen play in their system. So, and I think, I know this, a lot of them have good credentials. So it's going to, just trying to piece all those things together too.
Coach, Jack Campbell said that Tyler Linderbaum is the most consistent football player he's ever played with in his life. Would you echo those statements?
Yeah, consistency is certainly one of the first things you think about. Not only as a player, but just as a person. He is the same guy every day. At least he presents himself that way. And whether you see him in the building here or out on the field, or there's just a real consistency about him, and he certainly carries that over the way he practices. And told a couple of the NFL guys they've been coming through. It's good to see people coming through too now, a guy like that. But I was thinking about him last spring. I can't remember him having a bad moment during spring practice, and that's pretty unusual. He just is quality. He's just steady in quality, and part of that though, he's a really competitive guy, and he takes a lot of pride in what he does, and those are two common traits of outstanding players, at least all the ones I've been around. Despite whatever personality they may possess, those are two traits that most really good players have.
That consistency helps him handle all this attention that he's getting?
Yeah, I think he's totally unaffected by that. And I mean, you know, with all due respect to the NIL, he could care less. He is just not interested in that. He's focused on what he does and what he's trying to be good at. And I think, and that doesn't mean, you know, you can't do both. I'm not suggesting that, but like that's just how he thinks. And I think, you know, the people I've been around in my life that have been really good at what they do, they have an ability really to focus in on things that they're trying to do and do well. And he certainly is in that category. Yeah, he just doesn't listen to a lot or doesn't pay attention a lot. He just kind of pays attention to what's important to him.
It was trending this way, but are Keegan Johnson, Arlen Bruce in the wide receiver rotation?
Definitely, yeah, they're definitely in. I don't know if we got 5 or 6 in our rotation, but yeah, they're definitely in. And just, you know, pleased with the progress they continue to make. Jackson Ritter's entered that group, and I don't know if he's on the depth chart. I think he is. I don't know. I can't remember, but he's definitely made some steps forward too. So, and Charlie Jones, I'll throw him in there. You know, he's been a good returner, obviously, but he's done a nice job at receiver. So, who's that leave us? We got Tracy Ferentz, right? Who else? Is that it? So that's like 6 guys right there. Yeah, so that's a start. He's firmly number 2 right now. Yeah, firmly number 2.
What have you seen from him? Because that was a big position.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, he's a really young guy, 2nd year, but he's done a good job. He just is steady out there, just keeps working, and has done a good job. So he's different than Sam, different kind of player, but he's done a quality job.
Unless there's a change that I'm unaware of, you've got an assistant coach scheduled to talk to us via Zoom tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of accessibility with your assistant coaches and the media. I mean, a great deal in the off-season. And it's not a brand new thing, I realize, but it's been evolving and it's been more and more and more, and for a long time it was almost zero. What has made you change your mind about the merit of it? Have you seen anything from it?
Just, you know, it's evolution, right? I'm trying to get another new Kirk round, you know, going. You know, that one year we had the new Kirk thing going. No, just, you know, seriously, just, yeah, I mean, we're trying to do what we think is good for everybody. And, you know, it's one more step to access. There's some other suggestions that have been made I'm not as keen on, but, you know, we're going to try to do our part and, you know, share information as much as we can that's, you know, going to help us and help everybody else too.
What persuaded you to go the other way? I mean, if I remember correctly, and tell me if I'm wrong,
yeah.
It was you felt like they had enough on their plates,
Absolutely.
and it was your job to face us and not theirs, and so forth. What persuaded you the other way?
I'm going to throw one more in there too. We're letting the first-year guys talk, right? If they're in the too deep during the season, you know, have at it. So, I think part of it is self-serving. I think we've got great bench strength. You know, we got a really good group of coaches and what have you. I do worry about their responsibilities. You know, part of my job is to interface with the media, and you know, that's part of a head coach's job. I get that. So, you know, we're just trying to give a little bit more exposure, a little bit more perspective for not only you folks, but the people that follow you, to learn a little bit more about our program. And, you know, so just it's a little bit more sharing of information, sharing of people in the program, and, you know, trying to do it in a judicious way. My number one concern right now is everybody doing the jobs they're getting paid to do, though, during the season especially. And, you know, so I'm not against access, but boy, I'll tell you, these guys, everybody's busy right now.
Considering what Indiana does on offense, how helpful is it to have somebody like a Justin Jacobs, and how have you seen his maturation over time to where now he's ready to be an impact player for them?
You know, for us to be a good football team, you graduate a guy like Neiman, right? Nick Neiman, who's a really good football player, and, you know, he was climbing the ladder, similar to Justin, right? So, I mean, you know, think about him. He was playing, made some really nice plays in the bowl game in 19, and then played really well for us last year. Now, hopefully he makes it with the Chargers, and I haven't heard how that went. But, you know, so that's how teams continue to be good. You know, you have to have people coming up the ladder, and Justin's always been a very talented guy. We knew that when we recruited him, and he's really he's just playing more comfortably now, and like, you know, a guy who knows what he's doing. So that gives us 3 guys that we feel are pretty capable starters with he and Seth and Jack. But we're going to need more than that, and I think we're seeing other guys develop too. Certainly, you know, Jay Higgins has grown a lot. Kyler Fisher's grown a lot. So, but that's how teams get built, and that's how they you know, become good, as guys developing. But yeah, I mean, we're going to need everybody on defense, you know, up front, and certainly in the intermediate or in the back end.
A couple of books that I've noticed your players have read this offseason are The Program and Never Enough. You have guest speaker Mike Hayes come visit your team. Why did you choose those books for your team to read, and what do they mean to you?
Yeah, The Program was a suggestion by one of our coaches, and actually a couple of them had read it and thought it'd be good. So, you know, if you read it, it certainly fits what we do. Although nobody's lives are at stake. And same thing with Mike. I had the pleasure of meeting Mike a couple summers ago. He wanted to come last year, and then obviously, you know, COVID made things really difficult, so he Zoomed. And then this year, we were able to have him here in person. And in that time, he wrote a book, which, you know, I highly recommend. But it's just a good life book. It's not, you know, just a football book or a military book. But, you know, just outside perspectives, outside voices, people that have had really unique experiences. I think it's always helpful for people. All of us learn from people like that.
How did you meet Mike?
Just I was in an event, and you know, one thing led to another, so we had a chance to visit. And he's a really unique person. I mean, just really unique person. And it's interesting. You meet a person like him or a person like Dan Gable, and if you think about them in a different environment, you would have no idea who they are. No idea. So it's a good rule in life, right? You just never know who you're talking with when you're talking with people, or what their lives are about. And you know, he's certainly a good example. And I've always thought of Dan Gable that way too. Like, you know, you might underestimate if you just saw him on the street, and little do you know about his accomplishments. But he's not going to tell you. Neither would Mike.
So you're really, from what other guys have said, that he's really been practicing well the last couple of weeks. How much more?
He said he's practicing well?
The other guy said Spencer.
Oh, okay. I thought Spencer said he's practicing well. It's like, what the hell? Okay, so yeah. What else did he say about himself?
Well, he said he's relaxed.
Yeah.
It seems like he really understands making quicker decisions. How have you seen that play out? Is more the playbook open to him, and just how confident are you in him?
Yeah, the playbook's been open. I think he's operating quicker and more decisively. I don't know if relaxed is a word I would ever use to describe him. He's got a little hyperactive mode to himself, but no, he's doing a good job. He's doing a really good job, and you know, the fact that he's one of our leaders, I think, voted as a captain, that tells you how other people see him too. So, but no, he's done a really good job, and he's totally invested. That's one of the. There are many things I appreciate about him, but that's one. You know, he's totally invested. All 4 of those captains, plus a bunch of other guys are in that boat. That's for sure.
Obviously he's the #1 quarterback, but in the last 17 days, any progression on backup? I mean, clear 2, 0-3. Any
yeah, I think right now it's clearly Spencer, Alex, and then Deuce. 1, 2, 3. Yep, and we like Joe a lot too. He's a good young prospect.
What about Charlie Jones returning kickoffs? Is that a full go ahead? And how did special teams do? How was Shudak and Taylor and King?
Yeah, it's unique. The special teams thing's unique in that outside of the kick return position, we have return starters basically at every position. I consider Shudak to be a starter as a kicker. Like, you know, it was that close with he and Keith. So, you know, we feel good about our specialists, and Austin Spiewak's in that equation as well. And then I think our core special teams, you know, have been impressed with what we're seeing during camp, and, you know, we'll know more Saturday. But I think we have a chance to be, you know, pretty solid on special teams. And then the kick return thing, Charlie's definitely in the mix. I think we actually have, you know, several good candidates back there, and same thing with our gunner position. On the punt team, I think, you know, we probably have 4 or 5 guys that really could do it capably. So that's a good thing. It's a good sign. And hopefully they don't make me a liar on Saturday.
NFL cuts are today, and that wild scramble will happen today and tomorrow, but you've got a few undrafted free agents who are at worst on the bubble, who've made good impressions. You've got a couple of fifth-rounders and a sixth-rounder who have had very good preseasons by most accounts. Are your guys getting shortchanged in the NFL draft? And if so, why?
Yeah, I don't know if they're shortchanged. The good thing about football, and the NFL especially, there's a lot of things about the NFL that are really callous and hard. But if you go in and perform, you have a chance. You know, it's I don't know how many jobs are like that, but you have an opportunity, and you typically get judged on your merits and what you do, what you bring to the organization. The one little caveat there is it's a benefit to be young and cheap, so that gives you a little better chance to gain traction as one of the last 5 spots on a roster, or certainly a practice squad deal. But I've always told our guys, it doesn't matter how you get there; it's just a matter of what you do when you get there. And if you do quality work, chances are you're going to get, you're going to get an opportunity. And the other good thing in the NFL. There are 31 other teams that are evaluating you, as well as the team that you're on. So at least there's opportunity there. But all that being said, it's hard, and the guys that typically end up sticking are the guys that figure out that you got to work hard and show up every day and do your absolute best and show something for the team or organization to invest some time in about. And so I like to think our guys at least understand when they go in what they need to be doing. And hopefully won't, self-destruct or, do something that's going to move them out pretty fast.
Kirk, in a league with outstanding wide receivers last year, and you played quite a few of them. Freifogel was voted the best wide receiver, and his performance against Ohio State proved that, 20 yards per catch. What's the challenge, considering that's exactly what Phil tries to mitigate against, which are big plays in the passing game, but yet he's good enough to beat that type of coverage. What are you going to have to do to limit it, because you can't eliminate it altogether?
It's a challenge, and you just mentioned that game. I mean, a lot of good receivers on the field in that game, and a lot of good receivers in our conference. So, but yeah, he's right at the top of the class. He's an excellent football player. So it's going to be a big challenge for us, and they've got other guys too, and picked up at least one who's we expect to be we'll see out there. So they don't make it easy on you, that's for sure. And then on top of it, they got a guy who can get the ball to him really well. So it's a challenge.
When you look at goals that you set through the course of the year, when do you start setting those goals? How often do you revisit them through the offseason or even during the season? And are they up on a wall, or are they just kind of in everybody's hearts?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much shoot offensively, defensively, special teams. I'm not overly great like on a team goal other than winning and losing. I mean, that's the first goal. But there are certain things that we just deem to be really important to, if we're going to have a chance to be victorious. And those things we talk about on a pretty consistent basis, and then they get broken down a little more specifically by the three people in charge of those units. But going back to the part about playing clean, again, a lot of respect for Indiana because of the job they did with ball security and takeaways last year, and that's where it all starts. I mean, that's over 20-plus years. That's, if I could only pick one stat, that's the one I'd start with right there. But these guys don't, they don't do dumb penalties like they were, I think, 4th in the league or something like that last year. So they're not going to beat themselves with. We had 10 penalties in our first game last year, just to give you an example, and 2 fumbles, right? So that. I know this, if we have 10 penalties and 2 fumbles on Saturday, we're probably going to be on the short end again. So, there are certain basics, we try to just reemphasize time and time again. And then, usually on Sunday, those things come up. Right along with that are giving up big plays. And then hopefully creating a few, but giving up big plays. It's tough to win giving many of those up.
One of your biggest areas of growth from 2019 to 20 was that red zone success, obviously, particularly in the running game. Yeah. Is there room for more growth, and how did you guys manage such a big lead going off?
Yeah, I didn't mention these guys are number one red area defense, right? I forgot to mention that too. Speaking of things that are important to victory, so it's going to be a challenge for us. But yeah, I think one thing we, right along with some of the other key points, there's a huge difference between touchdowns and field goals, and 3 points are better than no points, but scoring touchdowns. So we really just try to keep emphasizing that with our players, that, you know, the importance of that and the value of it. And if we get that opportunity, that's really important. Then conversely on defense, you know, if we can keep people to field goals as opposed to touchdowns, that what really helps over the long haul.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.